Hello, dear viewers. We welcome you on the international platform of the Creative Society, where we continue to discuss vital issues for all humanity, which were raised at the conference Global Crisis Time for the Truth on December the 4th, 2021. The information that is silenced in the official media today, thanks to the courageous actions of concerned people around the world, sounds loud and honest. The fact that sounded honest and scientists about climate change on the planet and honest information that they have brought out give wide resonance around the world. And today, millions of people understand the importance of finding effective solutions together.
On May 7th, 2022, the Universal Forum Global Crisis, We Are People and We Want to Live will take place, where the whole world community will be gathered on one platform. As you know, it's going to take place on the platform of Creative Society. And that means that everyone can take part in it. Doesn't matter where they live, where they are. People can take part in preparation and searching information and conducting this really faithful event.
Right, and today we would like to introduce our great guest, a PhD in social sciences and environmental humanities from Pakistan, Ali Aziz, and an ecologist from Israel, Anna Kotlyar, an independent analyst, Ivan Bisvershenko, biochemist, neuroinformatician from Germany, Alexander Masny. Dear friends, greetings. We're happy to welcome you at today's international discussion, and thank you very much for your active participating in the social project Creative Society. And right now we suggest to watch an exhibit from the conference Global Crisis Time for the Truth.
Four months have passed since the time of the previous conference, and over this relatively short period, we have seen how much the progression of climate change and environmental degradation has accelerated. It's important not to remain silent, because this survival of all humanity is at stake. It is time for the truth.
We are now in a world where every single day, somewhere in the world, a climate extreme event is going to take place that will break the world record of that particular place.
The European floods this summer, or the Western North America heat wave this summer. Both of those extreme events were due to the jet stream reacting in very unusual ways, in ways that climate models did not predict would happen.
When I'm out in the field, I always hear people say that I never thought it would happen to me, and they're always surprised. Can you imagine how devastated you would be if you lost everything that you owned? If you watched the people around you, the people that you love, struggle and suffer or even die?
We have to understand we're one people on one planet, and it's up to us together to solve these problems.
We cannot leave it to our leaders. The leaders have shown that they are not up to the task. The leaders think of themselves as leaders of their own country. They don't care about the rest of the world.
The problem right now is we've all surrendered a certain amount of our power to centralized authority, and they're trying to use that to take over everything. And they've been using this excuse of anthropogenic global warming in order to try to consolidate their wealth and control. So we've got to just completely abandon and expose that.
The discussion about the climate is narrowed down to the reduction of CO2 and global warming gases. And I think the problem is much broader than that.
There's a widespread belief that climate change is a result of human activity. This is reflected in the 5th and the 6th report of the Intergovernmental Panel on Climate Change. But these beliefs are wrong.
The world's governments, through the UN, formed the UN Framework Convention on Climate Change. Now, you would think that would be studying climate change, but they specified that you study the human causes of climate change. So they ruled out all natural factors. They said, no, we're not going to study whether the sun plays a role. We're not going to study whether volcanoes play a role. We're not going to study whether ocean current shifts play a role. And we really don't understand clouds, so we're not going to count them much. What we're going to study is human CO2 emissions, because that's what we can get a handle on. That's not the way science is supposed to work.
Anthropogenic global warming is a grandiose scientific scam of the 20th century.
Green energy is not green at all. And wind power is not green because wind farms require enormous amounts of concrete and metal to construct, disturb wildlife, harm human health with noise pollution, kill hundreds of thousands of birds each year, pollute our air and water supply. We pay high prices for something that will never meet our needs.
We need to build a humanity that lives like a beehive, and we have to build a society that puts human life first. If we combine our scientific, technological, and intellectual resources, we can solve the problem of climate change.
If we fail, we face the real possibility that if we don't get our act together and start preparing for this cataclysm, we face the very real possibility of extinguishing human life on the Earth. A supervolcano is quite capable of completely taking a species out. And I say, if we come together correctly, if we really put our hearts and our minds to the task of preparing correctly, then we could not only survive what's coming, we could be the first species on this nice little blue marble to thrive through the next cyclical destruction.
Let's follow the Creative Society's survival guide. The 3 easy steps. Learn more, spread information, and unite to build a creative society.
After all, this world is given to all mankind with only one purpose: to live and be healthy, happy, to create and not to destroy.
The Creative Society is a project of everyone. We do not collect any donations or funds that disappear in the deep pockets. Instead, each person acts in their abilities and uses resources they already have. It is your opportunity to be a part of the solution and live out your superhero potential.
Wow, what an amazing video. Really, something that has never been done in the history of humankind, when people themselves, without any financial interest, without any support from governmental organizations or private corporations, got together and really decided to research what's going on our planet. I have to say I rewatched it and rewatching it second time right now because the number of facts is just huge. It's a tremendous amount of information about what's going on in our world today. And I would like to get the feedback from our guests today. What did impress you the most in the conference? Global Crisis, Time for the Truth. And let's start with Dr. Lee.
Invitation regarding the issues, very burning issues at the moment across the world. Yeah, it was a very interesting experience to know about the global crisis, and that's shared by the Creative Society. Actually, this conference is very much important. It should be happen before 5 years or 6 years, when the different countries have the idea to start working on the Millennium Goals or the Sustainable Development Goals. That time, I think we need that conference at that time, but it's okay, we are not a bit late yet. So my experience with this conference, I'm still watching it. It's a very long conference to watch it carefully about every content. The most important issue that I'm really excited to know about that. What's going on with our ecological structure or ecological system of the planet Earth. That is a much important issue for me because I'm looking for this aspect since a long time. What's going on? What kind of the changing that is happening right now in the world with the geographical structure of the Earth, and also what the human interference bring a very great changes. That changes comes to an end of the disasters. So I'm looking for that aspects of this conference, particularly that aspects, because if we are unable to restore the ecological structure of the planet Earth, we will not be able to survive on this Earth. So that ecological structure or the ecological system is very much linked with the human interference or the human activities. So with that part, I'm really looking forward to it. So it's like a very knowledgeable discussion about the ecological issues, about the fossil fuels, about the green revolution, about the technological use that constantly producing a mass debris on the earth. That is, I'm really concerned about it, that this technological changes, like the technological advancement, will definitely affect or destroy the ecological system. So that I'm looking forward to it, to know more about it, and this conference is very much important related to this matter.
Thank you so much. Yes. Thank you so much.
Спасибо, доктор Али, вы действительно абсолютно правы.
Thank you, Dr. Lee. You're absolutely right, because information which was voiced at the conference leaves no one just indifferent. Those people who are observing what's happening today to our common home, the planet. And I would also like to suggest Anna share her impressions from the conference. Please, Anna, the floor is yours.
Спасибо большое.
Thank you for the question. And the conference Global Crisis Time for the Truth has impressed me greatly as I'm an ecologist. And what was really precious to me was that the problem was were presented not just one-sidedly, so to say, but in comprehensive way. And not from the point of view or like major environmental factors. They say that CO2 emissions are to be guilty of ecological crisis, but information was presented from different points of view, and experts from different fields spoke about the problem coherently and without any, kind of division that it was just kind of ecological problems and social ones, but we have been able to see the whole complex of different kinds of crises that we're going through, and we managed to see the ways out of that. Thank you.
Thank you so much. Thank you so much, Anna. It's really, we are happy to hear from you as an ecologist that you like seeing other perspectives. I wish all people would learn not only their field of research, but also what the colleagues are doing. That's the only way we can get really comprehensive picture, exactly like what was presented on December 4th conference, Global Crisis, Time for the Truth. And the next question I would like to address to independent analyst Ivan Bezvereshko. Please, Ivan, what was your thoughts after watching the conference, and what did impress you the most?
Well, for me, the most impressive part was the scale of this conference. The translation into 100 languages, that would take, what, at least 200-300 people just to translate. And the amount of work that was done prior to this conference in order to get the material ready. I did have a chance to speak to many of the scientists which were participating And I've seen that material, the amount of data that people had to go through, the work and the ability of this huge amount of people to come together as one and do this conference. And the way it came out is just amazing. So I'm really glad that I'm part of this, and I'm hoping, and I'm anxiously waiting to see more, because I really want to see the entire world to unite, and I believe it's going to happen very soon, I think. Thank you.
Спасибо огромное, Иван. Да, действительно.
Thank you so much, Ivan. Yeah, it's true. I agree with you that I just can't wait to see the day when all the humanity will get united under one flag, of the creative society, and will step into evolutionary leap, so to say, right? So thank you very much for your sharing the impressions about the conference. And also,
الدكتورة الإيطالية بشأن تغيير اتفاقية شكلت حكومة العالم من خلال المناخ.
Alexander Masney, please.
كنت تعتقد أن هذا سيصدر لكنهم حددوا أن تدرس الأسباب الإنسانية لتغيير المناخ.
It's actually a very good question. So everything was impressive, and it's really hard to find one unique point, because the whole conference is actually unique, and we see this unity of people who really want to live and they want to do everything they can in order to tell
ونحن لا نفهم حقا الصحة، لذلك لن نعود لهم. ما سندرسه هو انبعاثات ثاني الكربون عندما الحصول على مقبض عليه الاحترار العالمي وعملية احتيال علمية الطاقة الخضراء ليست خضراء على الإطلاق. طاقة الرياح ليست خضراء، لأن مدار الرياح تتطلب إلى من الخرسانة والمعادن وإزعاج الحياة البرية، وإذ يضطر الإنسان مع تلوث الضوضاء وقتل مئات الآلاف من الطيور كل عام، مما يلوث امتدادات الحياة الجوية. نحن ندفع أسعار عالية لشيء لن يصل باحتياجاتنا أبدا. نحن بحاجة إلى الإنسانية التي يعيش فيها، وعلينا بناء المجتمع الذي يضع الحياة البشرية أولا. استجمعنا بين مواردنا العلمية والتكنولوجية والفكرية إننا حل مشكلة تغيير المناخ. فنحن نواجه الاحتمال الحقيقي أنه إذا لم نحصل على عملنا معا والبدء إمكانية حقيقة للغاية لإبقاء حياة الإنسان على الأرض، وكان يكون بالقادر تماما على أخذ.
Thank you so much, Alexander. Thank you. Yes, I totally agree with you. The song that started the conference and that was closing the conference as well was so amazing, because it's a true vision of how people can unite from all over the world. Just imagine, the song was made itself by dozens of people in it. Like, have you ever seen anything like that?
دعنا
Have you
نتبع
ever seen
دليل
people coming together like this with no financial interest? It's all based on human values. They're the same for every person in the world. Doesn't matter the country, the religion, or anything else. Just like here on this round table. And I'm so pleased to have Dr. Ali with us here. And I know how much active he is on Twitter. And one of the posts I really loved when he was posting about the peer reviews, because today the science became not about scientific research, not about thinking with your own brain, but only about checking is it peer reviewed or not peer reviewed. So scientists just reject something that's the new information for them, something they haven't seen. Even during the conference, each fact was proven by field research, by scientists who dedicated decades of their research, of their life to it. We see that some people still only care about is it peer-reviewed or not peer-reviewed. Dr. Ali, could you tell us more about the peer reviews, and can we actually trust that peer-reviewed based science?
وأود الحصول على تعليقات من ضيوفنا.
Yes, there is something very interesting I really want to share.
عجبك تنظيم المؤتمر الأزمة العالمية الوقت للحقيقة. وادعوا نبدأ في نود أن نسمع ملاحظتك حول المؤتمر. مرحبا، هل تستطيع أن تسمعني؟ نعم.
حسناً، شكراً جزيلاً للدعوة. كانت تجربة مثيرة للاهتمام للغاية لسماع الأزمة العالمية التي تحدثت عنها على منصة المجتمع الإبداعي. في الواقع هذا المؤتمر مهم حقا. كان ينبغي أن يحدث قبل 5 أو 6 سنوات عندما كان لدي الفكرة أن تبدأ العمل في أهداف الألفية التنمية المستدامة. في ذلك الوقت أعتقد أننا بحاجة إلى ذلك المؤتمر في ذلك الوقت، ولكن لا بأس لأننا لم نكن وقت بعد. لذلك تجربتي في هذا المؤتمر ما دلت مشاهدة أنه مؤتمر طويل للغاية ويستغرق الأمر وقتا لمشاهدته بعناية في كل قطعة من المحتوى. أهم القضية التي كنت متحمسا حقا لمعرفتها هي ما يحدث مع هيكلة الجيولوجي أو النظام البيئي لكوكب الأرض. هذه قضية مهمة للغاية بالنسبة لي، لأنني كنت أبحث عن إجابتها فيما يتعلق بها. ماذا يحدث هنا؟ هو نوع التغييرات التي تحدث الآن في العالم مع الهيكل الجغرافي للأرض، وأيضا يمكن أن يؤدي التدخل البشري إلى إحضار جميع التغييرات الكبيرة أو التي من شأنها أن تؤدي إلى حدوث كارثة رائعة في حالة إنسان. لذلك أنا مهتم بهذا الجانب من هذا المؤتمر، لأنه إذا لم نتمكن من استعادة الهيكل البيئي للكوكب الأرض فلن نتمكن من البقاء على قيد الحياة على هذا الكوكب. لذلك هذا الهيكل البيئي أو النظام البيئي مرتبط جدا بالتدخل البشري أو الأنشطة. لذلك أنا أتطلع حقا للحصول على بعض المعلومات المتعلقة بها. لذلك في رأيي إن مناقشة داعية للغاية حول القضايا البيئية، حول الوقود الأسود، حول الثورة الخضراء، حول التغييرات في التكنولوجيا. عندما أنا أقلق حقا هل ستؤثر هذه التغييرات التكنولوجية على الممتلكات أو تدمير النظام البيئي؟ لذلك هذا ما أتطلع إليه لمعرفة المزيد عنه، وهذه النقطة مهمة حقا. شكرا لك يا دكتور علي، أنت حقا على حق. لا تترك المعلومات التي بدأت في المؤتمر غير مبان أي شخص عاقل يراه ويلاحظ ما يحدث اليوم على هذا الكوكب، على كوكبنا المشترك. وأود أيضا أن أسأل المتميز أنا لمشاركة انطباعاتي. أنا من فضلك مشاركة انطباعاتك حول هذا. شكرا جزيلا لك. كطبيب علماء وأنا أتفق مع الدكتور علي، لقد تأثرت بشدة بهذا المؤتمر. وما هو قيمة خاصة بالنسبة لي هو أن المشكلة لم تظهر بطريقة من جانب واحد، وليس كما هو الحال الآن من حيث عامل بيئي رئيسي واحد مثل انبعاثات ثاني أكسيد الكربون. ولكن حقا بصراحة ومتخصصين على أنها من تحدث مجالات مختلفة عن مشكلة عرض وجهات النظر المختلفة. ونادرا ما يكون لديك فهم شامل للعمليات التي تجري في إطار منصة واحدة دون قطع الزوايا حول ما إذا كانت هذه المشكلات البيئية أو المناخية أو الاجتماعية فقط. لكننا رأينا المجمع بأكمله لما يجري. قد أدركنا الحقيقة التي نحن فيها الآن وما هي الأولويات الرئيسية للبقاء على قيد الحياة لكل. شكرا جزيلا. أنا يسعدني أن أسمع منك كطبيب علماء تحب رؤيته وجهة نظر أخرى. أتمنى أن يتعلم الجميع الناس فقط مجال للبحث، ولكن أيضا ما يفعله زملاء هذه الطريقة الوحيدة التي يمكننا بها على صورة شاملة حقا، مثل ما يتم تقديم في مؤتمر 4 ديسمبر الأزمة العالمية، الوقت للحقيقة. والسؤال التالي أود معالجته إلى محلل مستقل. من فضلك إيفان، ما هي أفكارك بعد مشاهدة المؤتمر وما أعتبرك أكثر شيء؟ كان الجزء الأكثر إثارة للإعجاب حجم هذا المؤتمر، الترجمة إلى 100 لغة، بشأنها أن تأخذ ما لا يقل عن 200 أو 300 شخص فقط للترجمة، وكمية العمل الذي تم إجراؤه قبل هذا المؤتمر للحصول على مواد جاهزة. لقد حصلت على فرصة للحديث مع العديد من العلماء الذين كانوا يشاركون، ورأيت أن المواد كمية بمر نفس العمل وقدرة هذه الكمية الضخمة من الناس أن يجتمعوا واحد والقيام بهذا المؤتمر بالطريقة التي خرج بها. لذلك أنا سعيد حقا من هذا. آمل وأنتظر بفارغ الصبر ليولد الجديد، لأنني أريد حقا أن أرى العالم بأسره للتوحد، وأعتقد أنه سيحصل قريبا جدا كما أعتقد. شكرا.
we
really didn't get the actual
في الواقع
picture of the fossil fuel
أستطيع الانتظار
effects on
لرؤية
the
اليوم
climate
الذي
change.
ستوحد فيه كل
At the
البشرية
same
تحت
time, we
راية
can see
الابتداع
the plastics
على هذه
or
المنصة
the
البشرية
telecons we produced by the
ونحن سوف
technological
ندخل إلى
advancement,
مثل هذه
where
القفزة
these
التطورية من قبل
waste,
البشرية جميعها.
it's not,
شكرا
not
جزيلا
recyclable, or if it is
إلى
recyclable, it's in a very
قبل
big
انطلاق هذا
amount,
المؤتمر
or it's a
الرائع
very
كان
big
ألكسندر الناسي
part of the pollution that
شكرا
is
لك
like
على هذا وما كان
we don't
مثيرا
have any
للإعجاب
data about it because
إنه في
the
الواقع
science is
سؤال
only accepted by the peer reviewed data.
لذلك
So if
كان
the
كل شيء
scientists
مثير
are
للإعجاب
really truthful
ومن
or
الصعب
they
حقا
are
أن يفعل
really
نقطة
honest
فريدة
with
واحدة
the
لأن المؤتمر
science,
بأكمله الأول
why they are not
ونحن
leaving
نرى
it to the
هذه
open
الوحدة
science, why it
الذين
not
يريدون
available
حقا
freely
العيش
for the
ويريدون أن يفعلوا كل ما في وسعهم
rest of the world, that
حول ما
where
يحدث
common people can get it and
هذا
understand
الجزء
what's
بهذه
going
الحقيقة
on.
الصعبة هذه
That
الحقيقة
is what Einstein
الحامضة
said.
أقصد
The
كل هذه
knowledge
الحقائق
that
عن
is not
العبودية
understandable
لهذا
is not
الثراء
the
الذي يحدث
knowledge.
في بعض
It's
المجالات
like if they make it
والتي لا
more
يتحدث
complex,
عن
they make
عادة
it
أو
more
التحدث في الأماكن التي لا أحد
unaccessible,
يسمعه
they make it more
بينما في
like
المؤتمر
to
يتحدث الناس
very
علنا
in specific
على هذه الحقائق
control.
الصعبة حول هذا الوضع
So
الصعب
that few people can hold it.
نقترح أيضا
And that
حل
we
مجتمع
have already seen it in a
مجتمع
different
لا يمكن أن يحدث فيه هذا
documentaries.
الهراء
We have seen it that
على الإطلاق
the data that is not equally
لأن الحياة
shared with the
البشرية
developing countries,
ستكون في
and we are
المقام
asking
الأول
about it. What's going on?
وهذا ما
What's the
يمكن به
leader
بهذا
of the
المؤتمر
G7 countries, or
بالأغنية
what's the
للحب
leaders
الذي
of the
يولد
developed
الناس
countries
استفز أي
from the
شخص
Western
آخر
world?
على
What they are doing?
من خلال إخبار هذه الحقيقة
What they have
هذا
fulfilled
هو
about
ما
the
يجعلها
Paris
فريدة من
Agreement.
نوعها
So that's
شكرا
all related with this peer
شكرا
review data.
ألكسندر شكرا لك
And it is not
نعم
fair. It's not a justice.
أنا أتفق
It's
معك تماما
against the
هذه
it is
الأغنية
all
التي بدأت المؤتمر والتي تم إغلاق فيها المؤتمر
activism. It's
وكذلك
all
إلى
the
الرمية
honesty with this
لأنها رؤية
beautiful
حقيقية
planet Earth.
لكيفية توحيد الناس من جميع أنحاء العالم.
Thank you so much, Dr. Asif Ali, for all these points that you made. And actually,
لقد تخيل أن الأغنية مصنوعة من
there are
عشرات
really a lot of issues in science that are
هل سبق
just
لك
silenced.
أن رأيت
Nobody
أي
talks
شيء
about it. I mean, it's
هل
really
سبق لك أن رأيت الناس جاءوا
a
معك
very hard situation that
مع عدم
is
وجود
what is going on, because
كل شيء يعتمد على القيم
it
الإنسانية
is common in our society that we trust
كل شخص في
science, we
العالم
trust
لا
scientists,
يهم أي بلد أو
right?
دين
And
أو أي شيء
what you just said, that
هنا على هذه المائدة
there is
المستديرة
open science
أنا سعيد جدا
in
يعني
it.
يكون لدي الدكتور علي
Why
معنا
some data is really hidden
وأنا
and
عارف كيف
nobody can get access to. Sometimes
وكانت واحدة من الوظائف التي
scientists claim
أحببتها
that there
حقا
is open
عندما
access,
كان
but
ينشر مراجعات
physically you
النظراء
cannot get this data because you need
لأن
to
العلم اليوم لا
go under
يتعلق
certain
بالعلم بعد
controls. You
الميت
need to have
وليس
some certain access to the
ولكن كل
data
شيء
and so
يدور
on.
حول
So there are really a
ما
lot of
إذا
issues with
كان
this.
مراجعة
And
الأقران أو عدم
if we
استعراض
claim
الأقران
that
لذلك
it is
حاضر
science, so
يرفض
means that we
العلماء
can
شيئا ما
reproduce
هو
some
معلومات
research. We
جديدة
can
لهم
really
هو شيء لم يره من قبل
get this initial data
على
and
الرغم من
understand what
إضافة
is going
المؤتمر
on.
قد
And
أثبتت كل
then
حقيقة عن طريق
what
البحوث
we are
الميدانية
feeding, like as
من
a
قبل
society, we
العلماء
just
الذين
get these
كرسوا
final
عقودا عن
statements,
حياتهم
results
وحياتهم
from scientists,
ما
from
زلنا
these
نرى أن
papers
بعض الناس يهتمون
that are
فقط بمعرفة
published,
ما إذا كانت هذه
and
المعلومات
we trying
مراجعة
to
الأقران
understand
أو
what
عدم استعراض
our reality is,
الدكتور علي هل
what
يمكن
is going on
أن تخبرنا المزيد عن
in reality,
مراجعات
because
الأقران
scientists are smart
في
people,
الواقع أن العالم
they
القائم
have
على
these
النظراء
scientific degrees, all these
نعم
publications are peer
هناك شيء
reviewed, so by the
مهم للغاية
fellows,
أن أرغب حقا
but
في مشاركتها مع
is it
الجميع
like
في
that?
مناقشة المائدة المستديرة
Is
حول
it
مراجعة
what's really
في
happening
الواقع
in reality?
علينا أن نفهم ما هي مراجعة
We know that all science
البحث
cannot
الذي
exist
يتم
without
مراجعته من قبل
financement,
الشخص
right?
الآخر
So without
أو الزميل
finance, sponsors, and
الذي هو من
grants.
نفس المجال لذلك بعد
And
المراجعة
what are the
يتم نشرها
sponsors
من
are
قبل
really
الناشئين
interested in?
أو المحدثين
Are they interested in life of people?
بحث مراجعة النظراء
Are they interested
ما هو
in
ذلك
truth?
الناشئين المحددين أو قاعدة البيانات
Just ask
المحددة
your question. What are sponsors
المهم
usually
للغاية أن
invested in mining.
وكيف يقومون بعمل
They
تجاري
invested
مع
in
العلم.
gain more
يجب أن نفهم
profit.
كيف هذه القواعد البيانات
When we
التي
really
ليس
see
كل
it's
شخص
really
لديه
this
فرصة مستوى للحصول على
situation where some editors
هذا
in journals of these
وأن لدينا بعض قواعد
peer-reviewed
البيانات على سبيل المثال
journals where
يمكننا أن نرى
people
مثل
cannot
شبكة علمية
publish without peer
تقعد من
review,
رؤوسها مثل
the
صفحة قاعدة
editors
سكوبس
just bought. They
والتي
make
لديهم ناشرون مختلفون
money
مثل تايلور
with
وفرانسيس
some
مثل ستايلز
legal
ويمكننا أن نرى
schemes,
مصدر ناشر
and
هكذا
they just accept only
ريدر أو
some
ناشرون أو مجموعة
publications
مجالات
that the
إنهم
sponsors
يعملون على
allow them.
المنشورات التي تعرضها النظراء أو
The
الأبحاث
situation is going,
تعرضها
it's
النظراء
happening everywhere in
لذلك
science, and
عندما
some
تذهب إلى الداخل عندما ترى
scientists are just openly
عندما
talk
تتغلب
about
على
it. They also
قواعد
try to
البيانات
publish this
جميع
research,
الناشرين
what is going on,
بأنهم يضخم من المال
tell about this situation. For
إنها ليست
example, what we
بالجميع
discussed on the
ليس جزءا من
conference,
العلوم
this
المفتوحة
climate gate
لذلك
emails.
بعد أن نرى ثورة
We see
التكنولوجيا
clearly how
الحرب
some
العالمية
group of
الثانية
scientists are just
ولكن أهمية الوصول إلى قاعدة البيانات فضولية
making such situation where
كل
editors
بلد
that do
تطور
not follow these
عليه
rules
والاحتفاظ
just get fired.
لذلك
So they
يمكننا أن نرى
really abandoned by the
الجرعات
by
يشبه
scientific
العالم
community and they cannot get a new job
جميع
and
البيانات
etc.
التي تعرضها
So
الإجراء
just
أو
not
البيانات التي
allowed
كانت تحت سيطرة هؤلاء الناشرين
to
غير
participate
قابلة
in
إلى كل بلد
this theater that is called
إنه عقد
science.
تحت السوق المحددة أو قطاع
And it's
الشركات
only one situation.
هذه هي قطاعات الشركات
Another thing that all
لذلك
this
هذه
research in every
التي
scientific
تعرضها
language
النظراء
is really made
أولئك
complex,
الذين
not
يتم
understandable by
توظيفهم
people.
المنظمات
If we
في
see
العلوم
some
النفسية
publications
أو في علوم
some 100
أو
years
في علوم
ago
الهندسة
and earlier, so it was understandable.
يمكنك أن ترى
People
إنه
can
غير
really
قابل
get any paper and
إنهم محددون كما
understand
يتعين عليك
what is said about it in simple
تحصل على
smooth
البيانات
words. So it was clear.
نحن
Yeah,
نعيش
of
في عالم
course, right now
يمكن الحصول
everything
على
is
المعرفة
getting
أو المعلومات دون
complicated.
قوة
We're talking about
أو دون
different spheres and
ذلك هذه
etc.
الفقرة
But it's
الفترة
are
من
these
العمل
science
هي
made for
الحق
people?
يمكننا أن ترى ذلك
And
واستغلال العلوم
the
بموجب
question is,
قد
what is
رأينا بالفعل في
true
علم النفس في
science is about?
مجال علم
What
النفس
is a true
مجال الطب
scientist should do?
الذي يكون مؤشر القوة
A true
القطرية
scientist
هذه
should
كلمة
really
اليقظة
care
أو
about
التظاهرات
people and
المختلفة
care about truth,
اضطرابات مختلفة وضعت في
not
اضطراب ما بعد
about his or her
لذلك
profit.
إذا كان هناك اضطراب جديد أو هناك مشكلة
It's
جديدة
a really
فيجب
hard
أن
and
يتم تبريرها
situation that we need to really overcome and
يجب
we
أن
need to
يتم
change
تبريرها
the
من قبل
scheme
المخلص أو بعض
and where
الأطباء
this
النفسيين
science exists.
بعد الوصول إليها من البيانات
There are really other
التي تم
questions, for
صناعتها
example, a
إنها
crisis
ليست
of
فترة مساوية من العقبة
reproducibility
التي يتم
of
وضعها
scientific
لتقديم
papers
الجميع
that nobody can
إدراك
reproduce
الاعتراف
its
ما بعد
results
الصدمة
and in psychiatry,
هذه
for
مشكلة
example, and
حقيقية
I'm
تحدث
sure
الآن في الولايات
the same
المتحدة ودول
situation will be in all other
يمكننا أن
areas
نرى
of
ذلك
science.
لذلك
And
يحدث نفس الشيء مع تغيير المناخ
how can we overcome
ذلك
this?
إذا أرادوا مشاركة
So
البيانات التي يريدونها من
we
خلال
understand
مراجعة
that
النظراء
in a consumerist format
هذا
of
قابل
society,
للتحكم
this will not
إذا
happen
كانوا يريدون ما يريدون
because
مشاركة
profit will be on the first
فسيقومون
place,
بالمشاركة
not human life,
هذا هو السؤال الكبير إنها
not
ليست علم مفتوح
the truth and
ما الذي
reality
يحدث
what
مع
is going on.
ما
The
الذي يحدث مع
reality that is
الهيكل
really
الجغرافي
crucial nowadays.
ما
What
الذي
is
يحدث في
happening with
الجزء
our
القطبي
planet?
الشمالي من الأرض
What is
ما
happening
الذي
in the
يحدث مع
core
أمازون
of our planet?
ما الذي يحدث مع
While we
أستراليا
are
ونيوزيلندا أو
talking
الأعمدة
about
القديمة سيتم تقاسمها أو
concept of
قبولها من قبل
anthropogenic
العلماء الذين يشاركون من قبل مراجعة
factor that is
التقارير
influencing
لذلك ليس علما
our
مفتوحا
climate
يمكن للجميع الوصول
and
إليه
not
وفهمه
about truth
ما
factor
الذي
of
يحدث مع هذه
what
الأرض
is going on in with the
في الوقت
seismic
نفسه
radiation
يمكن أن نرى
and
نحن حقا
how
نحصل على
sun
الصورة الفعلية
influences Earth and what are the climate
لآثار
changes on
الوقود
other planets.
والأحفاد على تغيير المناخ
So it's really important
الوقت
question
نفسه
to ask yourself and really to
يمكننا
dig
أن
into
نرى
this topic. Just read more about it and have this a fresh view on it.
المستنسخة
And
من التقدم
again, I would like to remind that true
ولكن هذه
scientists
المخاطر
will
ليست
do
غير
everything
قابلة
he
لإعادة
or she
التدوير
can do in order
إذا
to
تم إعادة
save
التدوير
life,
لها
in
لكنها
order
لم
that this life on this planet will continue.
التلوث ليس لدينا
Thank you.
أي بيانات
Thank you.
حول هذا
Thank you, Alex. Yes. Absolutely
العلم
agree with you.
مقبول
Science has to be
قبل
open to
الأقران
new facts and not reject them. But what we see right now happening
لذلك
is that certain scientists, so-called scientists and self-proclaimed experts
حتى
who
إذا
made
كان
business out of talking about certain things like CO2 traveling around the world, talking about threats
أو
of
إنهم
CO2, and receiving money from
صادقون مع
corporations
العلم
and
فلماذا لا
from
يقولون
private
بين
organizations for
لماذا لا
visiting
يتوصل
different forums. They got themselves
الحرية
very
لبقية
convenient.
العالم
So they see it
حيث
as a
يمكن
personal
للمستمعين
threat to
للحصول على
their income, to their fancy lifestyle. When
هذا
somebody
ما
is
يفعله
exposing facts
أينشتاين
that are not fitting
بأن
in
المعرفة
this
غير
model
المستمرة
of so-called hockey
يبدو
rock
الأمر
stick
كما
graph,
إنها
which is
تجعلنا
a
أكثر
proven hoax,
تجعلها
which is
ليس
completely
إنها
goes
تجعلنا أكثر
against facts,
غير محددة للغاية
scientific facts, but still somehow we have that
وإننا
trend
رأينا بالفعل في أفلام وثائقية
making fortunes for people.
لقد رأينا
So
أن البيانات غير
of course, they
المحققة
are
بنفس
curious about these facts, but I have a simple question. We have 40 years of all the CO2 talks, and what's happening to the climate? Did any of those people
ما الذي
talking
حقق
about CO2, did it improve anyone's life?
كل ما
In
يتعلق
fact,
بهذه
no,
البيانات
we
التي
see
تعرض
how much this
وليس عادي
40
انها ليست
years
عداله
of
ضدها
procrastination on real science,
مهلة
on
الكوكب
real
الجميل
open mind science about the climate change, how much it cost us. It cost us human lives every day. And those
علي
lies,
أضاف
those
بكل
money
هذه
that
النقاط
were made
الاقتراعات
on CO2
هناك بالفعل
tokens
كثير
during
من
these
القضايا
years,
والعلوم
they covered
التي
with blood of those people who died
لا
from
أحد
climate change
يتحدث عنه
in
بإطلاق
recent years and
إنه
before.
حقا موقفا
So
صعبا للغاية وهو ما يحدث
the
لأنه
next
شائع
question I would like to ask
كان
to
نصف العلم
Anna is
نحن نصف
how
العلماء لذلك
complicated it is
ولكن أين
to speak the truth, to
تفتح
be
العلم
honest scientists today
الذي هي بعض
when we
البيانات
see such a
المستخدمة
bullying
ولا أحد
in
بالفعل
the
وصل إليها
scientific community who
كثير من
see
الأحيان
truth
يوضع العلماء
as a personal
هناك
threat.
قتلا مفتوحا جسديا لا يمكنه الحصول على هذه البيانات لأنك بحاجة
Thank you. This is indeed a very important question, and I believe that ecology is one of the striking examples of the result of such a kind of attitude of specific people, so to say, who put their financial and political and egocentric interests higher than the lives of people. And ecology, right? Let us just say that this concept that ecology is just an anthropogenic factor influencing our biosphere. But ecology is not a climate forming factor, right? And unfortunately today there is confusion between these two concepts. Right. So people did not kind of determine our position on a global scale, because as an anthropogenic factor, it means the result of people's actions, right, or activities. And just the way companies, enterprises operate, right, how waste is distributed and from one country just taken to another one, right? So all these issues, they represent the whole system, okay? And when we have kind of wrong priorities, when we have wrong values, when money and consumerism dominate in our society, then we will actually kill our planet, because our planet is unfortunately already exhausted and it is already poisoned, and it's really critical actually for our life, right? Because in such a way we kind of kill our immune system. Can you imagine that? This is a real critical situation, and I would like now to touch upon my priorities resolve issues, okay? So I just suggest you right now to imagine our planet as just one big house, right, in which all of us live, right? And actually our house, meaning planet, right, it's very dirty, and all the rooms are just littered, and we have no fresh air, and the food that we consume is already poisonous. So are all these factors important for our life? Right, of course they are important, but if at a definite point we see that actually we get the ceiling crumbling right onto us, and the roof collapses. So if we already start just noticing that the whole roof will just fall on our heads. So as owners of this house, what's the way out, right? What decision shall we make? So what does our society offer? How to arrange all this kind of solve these issues? Society, or the so-called scientists, they suggest kind of changing furniture, so to say, in this house, right? But we must understand, society, we must understand, we must solve climate problems first of all, so that we have a place to live, and we can solve this problem only if we get united and we unite our scientific potential, technological potential. Surely ecological problems are very important to solve, but unfortunately today it is a manipulated topic, and it is put forward as a factor in the solution, so would help us save our planet. But it is very important to understand the difference between climate and ecology, and we should be looking for the ways to solve these problems.
But we see also currently that switching these PowerPoints, as in Anna's example, was also very clearly show that it now also causing issues. And people, for example, like in Berlin, they were prepared for the blackouts. So it was an issue with these new green, so-called green sources of energy, and people, when it was really cold outside, it was fortunately only -3, but it may be -20 or -50, and people with this green energy can be just left alone, one-on-one on climate situation. And I mean, not only climate, I'm sorry, I need to correct myself, with this weather situation that was outside. But if something tornado goes, I mean, just an example, a horrible example, but just imagine if we need urgently some sources of energy and nothing can happen right now without electricity, and we will rely on these sources that may work or may not, and we just destroying, for example, what is happening in Germany, all these reliable plants. I mean, these conventional energy sources are just stopped because of this CO2 reducing politics, and we're switching to this green sources. And thinking about people's life, thinking about whether people will survive or not. I mean, preparing these advertisements about how you can save heat or cold in your refrigerator, or maybe get some water in bottles because nothing will work. You cannot get water from your tap. Is it caring about life? That's a good question that everyone can ask.
Alexander, and we've seen what happened in Germany last winter when the wind just wasn't there, and the whole country stayed without no electricity and had to use, guess what, gas, and the prices went up, and it was a very critical situation, and we see similar things happening this year. So one of my favorite blogs at the conference, the most impressive and remarkable for me, was about wind turbines and solar panels, when they showed how much fossil fuels are used to produce those, and how much fossil fuels are used on every stage of maintaining it, how much lubricants made from fossil fuels are used in the wind turbines, how much not reliable those energy sources are, and how much toxic waste they create afterwards. And this goes against any common sense, against any logic, against any mathematical calculations. But it's a very profitable business. It's a very profitable business. So the data about it is being manipulated. We're being told only about the certain things about the green energy, and not being told the other data, where the data that's been shown on Time for the Truth conference clearly shows that this is not green unless it's green for someone's pocket, and this is not reliable, that we shoot ourselves in the leg as a humanity by switching to unreliable energy sources in the times when climate becomes tougher and tougher on people each year. And we see that floodings, tornadoes, earthquakes are happening all over the world much more than ever before. We see the dramatic changes in temperatures. And if these disasters continue and we're still going to be playing these games of we don't want to look at non-anthropogenic, we only want to talk about CO2, what's going to happen? Will we survive as a humanity? Can we find the solution to the real problems if we keep being so infant? I cannot find another word. So how vital it is to actually spread the truth. Ivan, I would like to ask you this question.
حاليا أنت أن تبدل نقاط التوقع.
There's so much I want to tell you about, but narrow me down a little bit.
أن الأمر يسبب أيضا قضايا. الناس على سبيل المثال
the situation in Europe just last summer, we've seen the floodings that never happened before, and we've seen tornadoes that went through Czech Republic all the way to Ukraine. That's something that 10 years ago just would sound like a crazy joke. And at this time, we would allow ourselves to play into CO2 hoax theories. Where is it leading us as a humanity if we don't actually wake up and see the effects?
فهي مجرد مثال مروع ولكن فقط تخيل
I don't think if things are going to go the way they're going, we are out of luck. And the only way to deal with the issue is actually get our things together, get our act together. And the together part is the key here. Because so far, the way we see things, we're not playing along. Just like you said, people are acting childish, they're ignorant, they don't want to know about others, they just care about their own problems. And that's where the problem lies. And the crisis that we are in, it's far beyond climate these days. It's truly global crisis. I would tell you more. It's outside of global. The problem lies way beyond our solar system, even. Not forget about the planet. Beyond our solar system. The key issue here is that our planet is being destroyed as we speak. It's falling apart because of the issue of cosmic proportions. The source of our problems is lying in intergalactic space. So our planet is actually, our solar system is entering the beam of cosmic rays, which is silently destroying our planet as we speak, and in every way possible. And it starts with the Earth's core. It starts from there on. You see the mantle going up, and from it results in huge amount of volcanoes waking up every moment. We see a rise of earthquake activity in magnitude and scale and the quantity as well. All that is causing the warming up of the oceans. It's also causing those emissions which we are calculating as our own, as well as we see less and less habitat for humans, safe habitat for humans at this point. So people basically have to leave the places which they used to live for hundreds of years, even thousands of years until now, and now they have to move somewhere, but nobody wants to see them, nobody wants to welcome them and on their own territory. Then that's the problem that we have right now. And with the amount of issues that we have to face, we really have to think the way we're going to deal about it. We have to be much more friendly to each other. We have to be helpful. We have to gather all our strengths and resources and put it to solving these issues. But instead, we're fighting. Look, we're on the brink of World War III. Is it okay? I don't think so. We have much more. We have better things to do at the moment than fighting each other and wasting our resources of deciding who is more important. I'll give you a simple example. I really like the example which was brought before me by our ecologists. Imagine a group of people wants to build a house. Let's say 10 people. And there are two case scenarios. One, each individual decides that he is a king and he has to enslave the rest of them and make them to build his own house. And instead of using the materials to build the house, they actually throw them at each other, they fight, and they manipulate each other, and basically instead of building the house, they just waging war on each other and whatnot. And there is another
ستحصل بالطريقة التي يذهبون بها. نحن بعيدون. والطريقة الوحيدة للتعامل معها مع القضية هي في الواقع الحصول على أمورنا معا والحصول على عملنا معا وحصل على جزء معا هو المفتاح هنا، لأنه حتى الآن الطريقة التي نرى بها الأشياء هنا لا نعرف تماما كما قلت. الناس يتصرفون صبيانية أنهم جاهلون، فهم لا يريدون معرفة الآخرين، فهم يهتمون بمشاكلهم الخاصة، وهذا هو المكان الذي تكون المشكلة. إنه في الواقع إنه بعيد عن المناخ في هذه الأيام، إنها أزمة عالمية حقا، إنه خارج العالمي. المشكلة تكمن في الطريق إلى ما بعد ضوامن الشمس. حتى الآن ننسى الكوكب خارج ضوامن الشمس. القضية الرئيسية هي أن كوكبنا يتم تدميره ونحن نتكلم، أو ينهار بسبب قضية النسب الكونية. مصدر مشاكلنا يكتب في الفضاء. لذلك نحن كوكبنا في الواقع.
Спасибо вам огромное за ваши...
Thank you, Ivan, for your sincere opinion, and truly so that information was the conference Global Crisis Time for the Truth. This conference and information opens out for us a comprehensive picture and gives us the way out of these issues. And dear speakers, you know, it's thank you very much that you've explained in a clear way that the processes of climate change happening today, they're cyclical, and this fully explains this kind of global fraud actually, which is kind of implemented in social media. I mean, this so-called anthropogenic factor and CO2 emissions as the guilt for all our crises. And now I'm starting to understand why this fight against CO2, right, does not bring actually any results, and why all these just cataclysms keep on happening, and for example, anomalous cataclysm happening in the places that have never taken never occurred there before. And of course, we need to get united and to understand the reasons, true reasons for climate change, because while today's official scientists, right, they're still they still believe that CO2 is the key point, the key factor of climate change. So until our official scientists believe so, we do not have any chance to bring positive changes. And right now, I suggest to watch an expert from the conference about cyclicality with participation with النقاش Danilov.
Igor Mikhailovich, by what means can humanity withstand this impact?
And it's the most important question. Why do we need the entire human potential? Why cannot someone do it on their own? Because first of all, we don't have this knowledge. We don't have this kind of energy. We have to understand that the power of impact affecting our planet is enormous. So all the energy that we have on Earth that is available to us is not enough to counteract the power of impact that is taking place. There is a small nuance here too. I'll just explain for understanding. Let's not delve too much into this. It would take a lot of time. I understand that people might be curious, but the impact is taking place not at the macro, but at the micro level. In other words, it's not a direct impact of macro objects in outer space on macro objects. It's an interaction at the micro level between particles. It is an enormous energy. Again, I understand that the question will arise. But how is that? The interaction between large objects is a huge energy. But between particles, it is weak.
Well, yes.
You see, our science is in such a state nowadays that we cannot answer many questions yet. That is why we need the combined potential to answer it. The interaction between particles, those that make up our entire universe, takes place at the energy level. It's an exchange of information as well as interconnections. That's where gravitation and many other things emerge. So these interactions are very strong. Look at what is happening to the planet. After all, destabilization comes from within the planet, while everything else is a consequence that we see. Now some people will say, what about other planets, my friends? On other planets too. We see what is happening now in the solar system, on other planets, those very landslides on Mars and many other things. There is activity too and everything else. This means it's all about cyclicity. It's just that it is somehow not trendy to talk about it, or somehow. After all, carbon dioxide couldn't have affected Mars and caused the formation of landslides, indicating instability there. But mainly the planets that have a core and magma are affected. If it's just a rock, it will remain a rock. There is nothing in it that would give rise to dissonance. There is only resonance between particles in it. It's just a rock. Whereas our planet is very complex. It has a core, magma, a crust, and an atmosphere. In other words, these are different spheres, just like in a human body, but they are coordinated. A single organism is formed. What will disorders in, say, a person's bone structure lead to? To irreversible consequences. The same is true for the vascular system or any other part. Whatever we take, any system, any disorder leads to a global destruction of the organism. It's the same with us here. Therefore, what do we need in order to counteract this? An equally strong counteraction. Let me give you a simple example. Let's use Tatiana, for example, for you to understand. Let's suppose I give her a little push, and she tilts. Why? Because there is a force of impact. And now resist it. You see, exactly the same impact, but she doesn't tilt. Why? Because she counteracts my action. If we don't put forward this counteraction, our world will simply collapse. Mars is an example of that. Those who are smart will understand. Look and see where we are going. Why? Because the cause is the same, and the effect will be the same. Again, here we not only need to possess this energy, and in order to possess it, we need to discover these sources. But we also need to understand what it is and how to use it. For example, you do not use this energy correctly. Let me push you, and you apply the same force. In the other direction, you see, it's even greater. She almost fell. Why? Even a light touch.
Without help anymore, right?
Yes, she applied a lot of force, but in the wrong direction. So if we make a mistake, we will kill our planet even faster. I think it's clear now. Again, why do we need potential? Why do we need energy to build and do all this? Let me give you another example. Why? Because it's a complex process, and it requires all people, all of our potential. And why could we not do it when we were 7 billion? Why can we do it when we are almost 8 billion? Because our potential has increased. Because the task is multidimensional and multi-level, and it has to be solved accordingly.
Right, dear viewers, the conference Global Crisis Time for the Truth is lots of important information which we just, which is priceless, you know, and which cannot leave any person indifferent, and which makes each person ponder over what's really happening to the climate today. Because today, with the naked eye, we can see that the climate and our planet is going through great changes, and really, if all the scientific potential would be directed to solving the ways out to solve the issues, then it would be really great. And it feels so great that the conference Global Crisis Time for the Truth, each speaker voiced such an understanding that exactly the creative society, building the creative society, is able to give us people this common potential, this scientific unification and technical potential, right? And then together we would find a real effective way out of all these crises. And right now I'd like to ask the question to all our speakers actually, but especially now to Anna. Please tell us, what do you think, why it is exactly with the help of building a creative society we would be able to solve climate and environmental problems? Why is it the only way out? Thank you for the question. And really, to solve, all these issues within the consumer format of society. It's just, it's really just impossible because until we have economic interests and political interests and, all these issues that we voice today, these problems, will be more important than the tasks of ecology or, for example, preserving human life. Because in the consumer format of society, a human life and ecology just is considered as a resource, first of all. So what kind of installation of the environment can we talk about? There is even, I would say, we see that some measures are being taken to solve environmental problems, right? And there are some good initiatives. And even if we say that, for example, there are some restrictions on enterprises and on emissions, decrease in energy, right? But okay, this is already good. But there are still, other players would come, so to say, and would take this place, right? Because it looks like if we, just cut off the head of one dragon, okay, then another head of the dragon will appear, right? Because only when we change the form of society to the one, which will care about the human life, then will it be possible to really change our life for the better? Climatic issues as well as environmental ones as well. So until we just unite into one single society and will take responsibility on ourselves, then of course nothing will change for the better. And we should put the interests of people just in first place. It is time to take responsibility on ourselves, to get united, to build a greater society, and solve all the issues that we are facing today. Thank you.
And what I would like to add is that it's impossible to trick people that know the truth. And this is what Creative Society Global Crisis Time for the Truth was about. It's about people obtaining knowledge. Everyone, equal access to the real situation in 100 languages. And this is why people picking up it so much. We see how much this movement is growing around the world because people feel it. People feel this is the way out of this madness of consumerism and profit-driven society in which it's impossible to fix anything. I would like to ask Yvonne, how do you understand why creative society is the only way out?
Show me any other way. I believe we tried every other way and didn't help. How long did it take the consumer society? Like I said, 6,000 years, it didn't do squat. And look, another example, let's say UN, since 1945, they're supposed to stop the wars. I don't think we had a single day where there was a war on Earth since then. So the only way to do it is to change the way we think. The actual, we have to set different kinds of goals, and we have to set find a different solution to reach them. Because just talking and at the same time going after the money and the power, which is even more ridiculous, is not the way to go these days. We are far beyond that.
تقف الوقت لتحمل بناء مجتمع إبداعي
وحلول
المشاكل التي نواجهها. أنا أتفق معك تماما وما أود أن أضيف وأنه من المستحيل خداع الناس الذين يعرفون الحقيقة، وهذا ما هو المؤتمر الأزمة العالمية. حان الوقت للحقيقة على منصة المجتمع الإبداعي. كان كل شيء نعم الناس يحصل على المعرفة. الجميع متساويين والسبب في أن الكثير من الناس ينظمون رغم سرعة تنمو هذه الحركة في جميع أنحاء العالم. الناس يشعرون بذلك.
for the future of their kids, for the future of the humanity. And look what we've been able to accomplish all together. Isn't it amazing? Isn't it a miracle when in this consumeristic madness where money, 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 and nobody cares about anything else, all of a sudden we see how many good people are around the world, how they unite, and how they do amazing things.
I would like to add a few words. Sorry, you just reminded me. The comparison which I really wanted to make is that look how much was done by creative society in these few years which we've seen. The free education problem is solved, uniting of the people is solved, changing of the mindset is solved. It's not a problem when people are really putting their mind and will into it. And thank you, yes, you did personal responsibility. Stop feeding and power-hungry people with power. Use your own power for your own agenda. I mean, let's do something ourselves instead of thinking that somebody is going to do it for us. There is no such thing, and it's as a good king, it's never going to happen. Like I said, for the past 6,000 years, we've been waiting for one. He never came. All of them want something for themselves, not for us. So let's do it. Let's do it with our own hands.
Absolutely, man. And what's interesting that people show that they are not willing to follow these patterns, informational patterns, this informational poison, basically, that we see from the mainstream screens, which lead us to the dead end. We see everything is about profit, is about money only, and it seems like everyone was accepting this game, even though no one is leading us to the dead end. But all of a sudden, everything changed. And I would like to ask Dr. Ali, how important you think it is for the future of our civilization to exist, first of all, and for the creative society to be built in which human life comes first, not the money, not the profit. How much important for doing that is for each one of us to take concrete actions and implement creative society all over the world already by informing people.
6000 عام الماضية كمال الجديد لن يحدث كما كنت على الواحدة لا تأتي أبدا بالنسبة لنا. لذلك دعونا نبني عالم دعونا تماما إيذانهم أن الناس يظهرون أنهم ليسوا على استعداد لمتابعة هذا النمط الإعلامي وتقديم المعلومات وأنا كل شيء الجميع يقولون هذه اللعبة على الرغم من أن فجأة تغير كل شيء وأود أن علي التعاطف قبل كل شيء الجمعيات الابتداعية التي ستلاقيها الحياة البشرية أولا ليس المال ولا
through the lens of the functionalism of the nature and the functionalism of the human life and the social bonding with the nature. It is really destructive.
أن أكون صريحا حول القضية التي نواجهها اليوم.
It's broken already. So we should have to work on it. So if we are choosing a simple life, it doesn't mean we have to wear like to be all should be like any kind of indigenous people. We are indigenous. We are in the state of indigenous. That's why we are culturally connected. We are like connected with our theology. We are connected with our way of life.
حتى نتمكن من رؤيتها من خلال عدسة الوظيفة للطبيعة ووظائف الحياة البشرية والترابط الاجتماعي مع الطبيعة. لقد تعطلت حقا إنها لذلك يجب أن نقرر العمل عليه. لذلك قررنا حياة بسيطة
of branding designs, so it's like it's not to be very acceptable in a society when you are not in a branding format. So we should have to completely abandon this branding format. This branding format really destroying the natural resources and the earth functionalism, the natural, the ecological functionalism. That we have to work on it. So for the creative society, we have to look for it.
إذا كنت لا تظهر
that I have seen it
العلامات
the
التجارية
palm oil
من الأفضل
industries,
لا تكون مقبولة للغاية في
where
مجتمع
we
ليس
can see
تنسيق علامات
that
تجارية.
palm oil is not a
لذلك
healthy oil,
يتعين
but
علينا التخلي
still
تماما عن
we
تطبيق
are
العلامة
clearing the forest,
إذا تنسيق العلامة
maximum
حقق
portion of
المواد
the
الطبيعية
forest
ووظائف
in the
الأرض
Southeast Asia, or just for, or in the Brazil,
يتعين
or in
علينا العمل
some,
فيه. لذلك
in the rainforest of the
علينا نتحدث عنه
South
أول شيء
America. We can see it. These
هذه
cheap
صناعة ذات
plantations,
التخليل حيث يمكننا أن نرى
it's a
أن
very
ليس
like
لدي تنسيق
unhealthy
في بلد يمكننا تطوير
plantation
الغابات
for the palm oil
أكثر
industry
من
to
الغابة في
keep
دول
the
شرق آسيا
pocket high of the
أو في هذه
consumer,
المنطقة
of
أمريكا
the
الجنوبية. يمكننا أن
capitalist.
نرى هو هذه المزارع
That we
الرخيصة
have to work on it to
مثل
stop that
المزارع
kind of
غير
business.
الصحية لصناعة
It's
مناخير
completely destroying the
تحافظ
functionalism
على
of the society, of the mother earth.
قمة عالية من
The
المستهلك
real
من
question
الرأسمال.
that we
يتعين
are
علينا
not
العمل عليه
asking from
بكافة رابطة
ourselves,
الأعمال
that
إنها تدمير
why
تماما
we are
وظائف
not ready
جمعية الأرض
to
الأم.
give up
السؤال الحقيقي
or
الذي لن
seize
نطلبه
the luxury, the
لسنا
dreams for the luxury life, why we are going for it. It
مستعدين
is like we can see that it happens in Europe,
ما هو
that
الفخامة أحلام الحياة
the
الفاخرة
empty flights they
لماذا
are
نذهب
running
لذلك
across
يبدو الأمر كما
different
نرى أنه
cities.
يحدث في
For what?
أوروبا الرحلات الجوية الفارغة
What is the
ويتعامل
reason?
عبر
That's
مدن
why they are
مختلفة ماذا
like
هو السبب لذا؟
using the empty flights
السبب
from one country to
مش
another
باستخدام
country.
الرحلات الجوية
We don't need it.
الفارغة من
At the
بلد إلى
moment,
آخر
to
لأننا
with the
لسنا علينا
COVID-19,
أن
we have to
نحدد
limit
فرضا
our
الحاجة
traveling
إليه
across
في الوقت الحالي في قارات مختلفة هذا هو الشيء
different
الوحيد
continents. That is
الحياة
the one
البسيطة
thing. The second thing,
علينا أن
for the
نختار
simple life, you
وليس
have to
في العالم
choose not the branding style, not the
ولكن تنسيق المعيشة الخرسانية أن الأرض
concrete living format.
الإقامة
That's
الخرسانية
the earth
تم
really
بين خرسانة
facing now.
المدن الكبيرة
That the
والمتحدثة
concrete
يمكننا أن ترى أن التحضير معزز وقربنا
that
الانهيار
we
يمكننا أن
are
نرى
building the concrete buildings
كثيرة مع عدد كبير
in the already
إنهم لا يقبلون أو
occupied
لا
big cities. We can see that's the
اللاجئين
urbanization is
القادمين من
completely
البلدان النائية
congested and
لذلك
it's near to
علينا
collapse.
تغيير
We can
الحكم من
see the
المكان
almost in all
علينا
big
تغيير
cities
يمكننا أن نقول إنه تحول
with a huge
لذلك
population.
التحول
They are not
علينا اتخاذ
accepting
الإجراءات
or
المناسبة
cannot
بالرغم من
adjust the
أننا
more
نعرف
population,
أن
the
قادتنا
displaced
ليست
or the refugees that's coming from
على
the
استعداد
developing countries. So we
نمط
have
الحياة
to change this kind of the
لديهم
concept. We have to
لديهم
change, or
السلطة
we
المزيد
can
من
say it's a
الطاقة
radical
المزيد من
transformation.
الشعور
So for this radical transformation, we have to take a great action.
الذي يوجد بالفعل
Although we
جميع
know that our leaders, they are not ready to accept a simple lifestyle format because they have the mentality, they have the mentality of more power,
لديهم
more
نظام
crowd
دفاع
of
قوي للغاية
populism. That is the one thing that we are really facing in the across the world, in different countries with a different kind or with a different style. They are using the religion to hold the people, and they are using the other ideologies, or they are using the money, the power, and they have a great army. They have a very strong defense system. So that is the one thing. It's a real threat. It's a real risk for the humanity and real risk for the
نرى أنه ليس
planet
أسوأ
Earth.
أن
So
الشباب
for
وهم
this,
يكونون معظمهم على التطبيق
for using this format that comes to closer the human and nature, we have only the one format. That is the socio-ecological bonding. So we should have to work it. Or otherwise,
الصناعات
I
التي
think
يهتمون
there will
بها
be more collapse. There will
إنهم
be
حقا
more
لا
collapse of
يهتمون
the system.
بالإنسانية
There will
إنهم
be
لا
more
يهتمون
collapse of
حقا
the
بالتعاطف أو إنهم لا يهتمون
of
بإنساء
the
الحيوان
different like
إنهم لا يريدون ذلك
the
لا
bonding that
يريدون
we have
اعتماد
already.
لديهم
Like
بذلك
we can
يمكننا أن
see
نرى أنهم
that
يكرهون السكان
in
الأصليين فهم
particularly
يكرهون
in
الناس
Asia, we can see that the young people,
هم يعيشون
they
مع نوع
are
الحياة الوحشية
wasting
الخاص
most of
بهم
their time
إنهم
of
لا يفيدون
the useless apps that have no
الذين
benefits to
حققوا
the
حياتهم لموارد
humanity, and they have no benefits for
أو أكثر من قطع الغابات
ecology
لذلك يمكننا أن نرى
of the Mother Earth. So that's we have to look for it. Why these apps that are controlling the young people's mind, they are not a resilient anymore, and they are just like controlling under the with the help of technology and which is directly under control of the capitalists or the industries. They don't care. They really don't care of the humanity. They really don't care of the empathy, or they really don't care of the animal rights, and they really don't care about the simple life format. They don't want it. They don't want to adopt it. So
لكن اليوم أقرب إلى 99 من الثروة العالمية التي تؤثر عليه. كل مكان في جميع أنحاء العالم، وليس هناك طريقة أخرى خارج بدلا من بناء مجتمع إبداعي يعيش فيه مجتمع الناس الكبار. الهدف المجتمع نفسه هو توفير أعلى قيمة للحياة البشرية لكل شخص. كل حياة بشرية يشكل أكثر قيمة، هم الذين يكون أهمية ناتاليا
and also the military, they have a military power. So that's why they are very strong. I want to
وأنا
name
أتفق
it,
معك اليوم
that we can see that's right happening right now in Southeast Asia. We can see that Myanmar. I have a friend from he's an environmental engineer. He told me that we don't have healthy river anymore. Anyway.
شكرا على رأيك. أنا أيضا أحب أن أسمع من ضيفنا ألكسندر ماسني.
Thank you so much, Dr. Lee. Yes, and we can see this tremendous social injustice all over the world, and we can see how much the difference between rich and poor in every country. It used to be 80% of wealth concentrated in 20% of the society, but today it's closer to 99% of global wealth controlled by 1% of population. And it is happening everywhere all over the world, and there is no other way out rather than build a creative society in which all people live in prosperity, because the goal of the society itself is to provide the highest value of human life for each person. Each human life is the most valuable thing. And what can be more important? And Natalia, would you like to ask anything else?
نناقشها عادة مع أصدقائي.
Yes, with great pleasure. Thank you, Dr. Lee, for your great comments and examples. And I do agree with you that today is the time when each person has to think on how the way he lives, or the way he just spends his resources. And of course, we people should create and find this common solution how to the corporations which distribute and waste all our just resources, right? So thank you very much for your opinion. And also I would like to ask Alexander Masny right now, or just another speaker. Alexander, please share, because you are an active participant of the Creative Society project, and you realize the importance of informing people about Creative Society. Please share your experience and understandings of what simple actions each person can take, even couch potato, so to say, or a person just doing his daily routine. So what can each person do in order to inform all the humanity about the Creative Society?
Thank you, Natalia, for your question. It's really important one, because people usually ask it. So what can I do? And the first thing that all people who already know about Creative Society, they should start talking about it, talking to their friends, talking to their relatives, talking to people who they just met on the street or occasionally. We have a lot of topics for these small talks. We have a lot of things that we usually discuss with our friends, but Creative Society is the most important topic that can also be used either for a small talk or a complete long discussion, how it can solve all issues that we have in our society. For people who don't know, just learn more about Creative Society. Make your own picture of it, like what is really about. Like even I'm participating in Project Creative Society for several years, and it's very important that every conversation about it, every international discussion like this one brings more understanding. And for example, recently I really understand a lot the importance of responsibility. What is responsibility? We have it in these foundations that the affairs of the society is the affair of each person, so everyone should be informed and involved in affairs of the whole society, these self-governance of society. But what is really about? And you know, like recently I understand that when you first initiate some action and you start doing it, that was what's really this responsibility is about, that you start acting yourself. You don't wait for somebody like your neighbor or your friend who will start implementing it or start doing it, but you do it yourself. You can be an example for your friends. You can be this driver who actually drive the implementation of creative society. You can start those short videos and post it on TikTok, like videos that are really people you usually like, but there are no sense behind it. Like these videos of these cute animals or something else that is going on about issues of our society. But we can point it into a good direction, into a creative direction, building the creative society. So we can discuss these issues with our friends and make these posts in social networks. Because everyone is using a social network like, I don't know, Instagram, Twitter, ВКонтакте, Одноклассники, or Facebook, or whatever. Like in China, there are also like WeChat and etc. So all these social networks that we have, we usually share our impressions about vacations. We share our opinions about something that has happened to us. But you can share about most valuable topic that we have right now, saving the humanity with creative society. I know it's really, really important, this responsibility that everyone who already knows should start being an example. And it's really wonderful also to not be alone in this action, but join the huge team that's already doing and implementing it right now. We have a lot of topics where we are working, where I don't even call this work, but it's like we're doing it with pleasure. It's really a huge team, and it's really wonderful how a unity of people can implement the most valuable thing that we can have, what all the prophet dreams about. It's really amazing, and it's surprising me every time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so much, Alexander. And I would like to sincerely thank to each one of our guests for being here with us, for continuing to reveal more deeply the topics that were voiced at the conference, Global Crisis, Time for the Truth, and for all of your inspiring words. And I would like to thank all our dear viewers. Dear friends, please, let's organize the same discussions in our cities, in our countries, with our friends, with our colleagues at work, with everyone we know, because our world, this planet, really needs to wake up and decide what our society will be like. And the choice is up to each one of us. So let's take the right choice.
Да, друзья, действительно.
Right, friends. It's true that time has come to make the right choice, right? Because if we look at what's happening today in the world and we listen to the climate eyewitnesses, if we just talk to the victims of climate events, which say that these cataclysms, they can be compared to military actions. And indeed, friends, if we look at watch the footages of different videos and news and on internet that what well, the disasters leave after them just tears and death, and the guilty reactions, don't they? And today we can understand that we have faced the only enemy, it is the climate. And we, France, we should wake up and understand, realize that we have no other problems. We have nothing to divide. We are not enemies to each other. We are all living today, sitting today in one boat, and we need to get united today in order to to confront our common enemy, because this enemy is really going ahead of us, because we can even not we cannot come to the common point that there are climate issues. So what else can we do? We should unite. We should unite our potential so as we would have the kind of opposal instruments just against this climate cataclysms, because disasters, the forces of nature leave people homeless. And France, we see it just today, and you know what's the scary thing about that? That each of us will face these issues in the nearest years. Do we really want a future, such a future for our dear ones and loved ones? Friends, today millions of people are uniting just on the basis of the Creative Society projects, and they're informing about this project. And that is why today, even today, we have started getting ready for the unprecedented event, the International Online Forum, which will take place on the May 7th this year, and it is called The Global Crisis Where the People Want to Live. And friends, and it will be interpreted into 100 languages. Friends, if you understand the criticality of the situation today, and please join millions of people from around the world, and only together we can find the issues, the ways out of these issues, and we'll be able to survive all these cataclysm changes. Because we see that cataclysms are increasing their strength. And friends, let us just get united today while we have a chance, while we still have time. Thank you very much for being with us. Let us go on with our international discussions, and let us inform people about the Creative Society project. Let us tell our friends about it. And see you soon, friends. Bye-bye.